Welcome back to Collins Country. Today we are doing a very highly requested video. A lot of people have asked us about how we purchased 60 acres at such a young age. I was 26 and he had just turned 27 when we bought these 60 acres. So yeah, we're just going to get through it. Everyone wants to know the story of how we bought our land, so we're going to do that now. So this story really started in 2012 when we got engaged. I was still in nursing school, so I did not financially have the means to purchase a house, but he was just getting established in his Duke Energy job and had a pretty decent income. So he was looking for a house for us. Ultimately, we both knew that we wanted a farm long term. We wanted to live on a farm, but realistically, we had no credit history at that age, and we didn't have any cash saved up really because we both just got out of college to put down for property. So we just started looking at houses. We ended up buying a real cute little ranch in a subdivision in Independence, Kentucky. And it actually did have 3 acres. We got really lucky. It was foreclosed on, so we got it for a great price and we fixed it up and remodeled it.
It was an acre and a half. You said 3 acres.
I'm way off. I thought we had 3 acres. I lied. It was an acre and a half. It felt like a lot back then, okay?
But that is a decent amount in a subdivision.
Yeah, it is. It was nice because where the house was, it was a flag lot, so it was surrounded by trees. But you couldn't do any gardening because everything was shaded. Anyway, so that's where we started. And then we lived in the house. We moved in the day we got married in 2013. And pretty much right away, we knew neighborhood living was not for us. We started nonchalantly looking for land.
Yep.
Talk about maybe the realtor we had and that experience.
Yeah, so after about a year living in the house and doing some projects around the house, kind of gaining some experience and some knowledge on how to build things, and we finished the basement and stuff like that, we decided to get a realtor to see if we could purchase some land somewhere, ultimately to then go and build a house on.
But we knew building a house was years down the road. We just wanted to get the land first.
Yeah, we wanted to just be able to get the land first. So the market at the time, of course, we thought it was bad, but it was relatively good.
Yeah.
But you're always looking for a good deal, and as the market changes, what used to not seem like a good deal would have been a good deal, a couple years later. So that's kind of what we fought through for several years. But we had some realtors that seemed like they didn't really take us very seriously, and we just did not have good luck with them. So
yeah, and the realtor we were using was recommended to us. It was kind of like a family friend. They did a really great job with houses. They actually helped us find and buy our first house. But yeah, so I actually was taking care of a patient at work because I'm a nurse, and they were from this area where we live now, and they were like, well, there's this realtor and he only sells farmland. You guys should talk to him. We know him. He's a great guy. Go with it. So we did. We contacted him. I thought, oh, this is great,
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, that wasn't a good experience either because this guy was buying land, splitting it up into 2 or 3 sections, and then reselling it for a lot of money. So we were looking to purchase land for dirt cheap, and we weren't able to get that from him because he was reselling it to make a profit. So it really wasn't that cheap. Plus, the land that he was buying wasn't really what we were looking for. We had certain things on our list.
Yep.
So ultimately, after the realtors didn't work out, we decided to kind of take it into our own hands, and James started really looking for land. So I'll kind of let him talk about that experience and that process.
So we asked around quite a bit to see if anybody was interested in selling land, but then you also have the people who are selling the properties off of Zillow or any other kind of
online realtor website.
Yeah, online realtor websites. So we would go to these houses, and some of them had houses, some of them didn't, but they would just be like really run down. I mean, the houses were falling in, and huge spiders throughout the entire house. There was drug addicts in the house.
Yeah, he went to tour a farmhouse one day on a farm, and there was like a bunch of drug addicts in the house. Nasty, huge spiders. There was no value in the house. It was like demolished.
Yeah, there was the people stayed there while we were looking through the house, and there was spiders. I kid you not, they were as big as my hand on the walls of this house, and the house was leaking. There was stuff falling through the ceiling, and there was people sitting there on the couch. It was the most awkward thing that I've ever been through.
Yeah, this property wasn't cheap. Like, it was at the top of our price range too. So to see that was just so discouraging for us in the process.
Yeah, long story short, after 5 years of searching, on my birthday, we got a call from somebody saying that there was some property for sale down here on this road. And I decided to go and look right away. The market started to get incredibly challenging. People were paying for stuff with cash, and it was
getting difficult because literally land was hitting the market and it was selling within 24 hours. And we had enough saved up at this point because we had been saving for 5 years for a down payment to purchase land. And we looked at a few farms that we could have made work, but I know one farm that was close to here that we looked at was 100 acres and it was 200,000, which now that's like ungodly cheap. But at the time, for us being so young, like spending $200,000 on a land, and that's just the land, no septic, no water, no electric, like nothing, no house. That was a lot to bite off. Looking back, we could have done it, but
yeah, that would have been that would have really strapped us at the time.
yeah.
But looking back at it, that was a great deal, and also it was alongside of Eagle Creek, which is a really nice creek that you can fish and stuff. So, we kind of kick ourselves in the butt with that one. But ultimately, we found this property, and it was pretty good. Margaret started to get really discouraging, and this little old lady said that she wanted to get rid of this property. And one thing led to the next. We decided to make a deal with her, and we ended up buying this property.
Yeah, so I'll give a few details on that. So we were actually celebrating James and his twin brother John's birthday at his parents' house when we got the call. And we were both so excited. We were like, we're leaving now to look at it. So we left the party. We drove down here and we walked the whole farm for a couple hours. And we both decided, like, this is it. Every other farm we had looked at previously, there were things about it that we liked. But there were also so many things that we didn't like that all the farms were like, this just isn't it. We never, like, felt instantly that the farms we were looking at was the one for us until we hit this one. Like, we both agreed right away. Everything that we'd wanted in a farm, we had on this. So we contacted the lady that was selling it, sweet little old lady with MS. I know her family had some issues. The grandkids were kind of using this as like a party getaway. There was a lot of troublesome going on here, and she did not want the land going to anyone in the family. So after speaking with her and actually coming back to the farm and looking at it another time and going over price negotiations and everything, we ultimately decided to buy the farm from her. We knew it within a week.
Yeah.
It was pretty fast that we knew like this was going to be the farm, which we were so excited about. So of course we went through the process with the paperwork. We talked to her. We asked her how much she wanted for it because it was 60 acres. At the time you could find land for $2,000 an acre, but you had to buy 100 acres or more to get it for that price. So to find 60 acres at that time in 2018 for $2,000 an acre was very cheap. And actually we found out after we had purchased it and we had gone through the buying process and it was finally ours, she told us when we were buying land, she said, guys, I was praying for such a long time that God would bring the right family to sell this land to. She didn't want to sell it to anyone that was going to piece it off for like a subdivision or closer houses. And she wanted to sell it to people that would raise a family there and enjoy it and love it and serve God through it. And that's pretty much exactly what our plans were for the farm. So looking back, like God's hand is written all over the story. It's amazing how it fell into place. We bought this land for what, like $20,000 less or even more than what she bought it for?
Oh yeah, it was actually about $40,000 less than what she originally bought it for back in 2007.
Yeah.
So we bought this property in 2018. We negotiated with her, made a deal with her in April, and we ended up closing on this property in June. And it was just a land loan. We did have to take out a loan. We had 25% down, and I think we got it on a 20 or a 25-year loan.
Yeah.
And so we did not want to build right away. We made that decision that we didn't want to do that right away. But August came around, and for some reason, me and her just really wanted to get out of that subdivision. We wanted to move down to this property.
I was driving home from church on a Sunday, and we drove separate for whatever reason. I think because he was still playing in the worship band at that point in time, and we had one child at that point in time. And I told James, actually, we might have had two by then. If it was 20, we did.
Yeah.
Levi was a baby, so we had 2 kids at that point in time. And I was driving home from church, and I called James. I said, I just can't do it anymore. I literally cannot move in this neighborhood. I don't care if we have to live in a tent to get to the farm. I want to live on the farm. Even if we don't financially find the means to build a house for 5 years, I don't care. I just want to live on the farm, because every weekend we were coming down here and we were just spending so much time here, and we were doing so much stuff on the property already. I just wanted to get to the farm. So in August we decided, all right, we're going to build a house next year.
Yep.
And at that point we didn't know like how big of a house we could build. We didn't know if we were going to be building a trailer, if we were going to be building a ranch, a 2-story. So then we spent from August until like January, February.
Yep.
Looking at home plans, which we looked at thousands of home plans till we found this one.
We were looking at home plans, and we did tons of research on how we could possibly build a house.
Yeah.
During that time, we did find home plans. We were sending the plans out to different builders to see what they would price for us. It seemed like most people had their own plans that they wanted to build off of. They said that they could kind of adjust and redo their design to match somewhat similar to what we ultimately picked. But we didn't want that. We wanted to build this house that we got here.
Yeah.
So we ultimately decided to do it ourselves.
Yeah, that was never the original plan.
No.
Not for a second did we ever think we were going to build a house. We always thought we would just find a custom home builder to build the plans that we wanted. But we honestly could not find that. It just wasn't happening. Or they would want, something ridiculous like $700,000. Well, who can afford that on an average working middle class family? So we started the process of looking into finding contractors. We talked to friends, family, got names. I'll be honest, I don't really like any of the contractors we used, but ultimately it worked. We had really planned on contracting most of it out and us just being the general contractor, but it just gets expensive if you do that. So ultimately we ended up doing the vast majority of all of the work on the house. And it ended up being okay.
It was a good experience, though. I mean, throughout the house build, we're definitely not experts. So we're constantly doing research on different codes and things of that nature. That we would every once in a while get to a part of the house that we were building, and it'd be like, ooh, how are we supposed to be doing this? And we would do some research. We worked full time while we were building this house. So sometimes when I would have breaks at work, I would get on my phone, do some research. It wasn't like, we're professionals and we know exactly what we're doing here. We did have some help, some people who did know more about the code than we would. And, I ultimately was going to be doing the electric and the plumbing myself anyway. I've done enough of that I'm fairly confident in what I'm doing. When it comes to building, I frame some things. I know how to, frame out windows and doors. But there's a lot to it. There's a specific amount of nails that you got to have in corner of the walls and all of that. So it's there's a lot to it. And fortunately, we were able to do some research and get that information as we were building. And the building inspector was super helpful. He wasn't trying to fail us purposefully. He wanted to make sure that we were building a quality house here.
Yeah. So, ultimately, for us, our story is kind of a long story. Looking back, we started looking for land 10 years ago in 2013. We were able to purchase the land in 2018. We started building the house in 2019, and we moved into the house in 2020. Yep. So, it's definitely doable for your average hardworking American. You can really do this. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a very hard work ethic. It takes patience, and it takes a lot of prayer, that's for sure. But for us, it was very doable.
Yep.
Looking back, I think the whole thing was kind of extremely chaotic, but I think it was a great process. So if you have any questions, of course, just comment down below those questions. We'll try to get them answered if we can, but ultimately that's how we secured and purchased the land. There's more details we could go into if you guys want more details later on down the road, but that for the most part is the story.
Yep.
Anything else you want to add, babe?
No, that's it. I guess one thing to note is when we talked to the banker, we had debated on living in our house in the neighborhood and build the house at the same time. And with the banker basically told us that it would be so much easier on us if we could find a place to live and sell the last house. And so that's what we did. So we made a lot of money on the last house because of the projects that we've done inside that house. And that really helped us have a very nice down payment on this house here.
Yeah, and then we also had a lot of cash in the bank from that. So a lot of the contractors we just paid for as we went through. We didn't even put that onto our mortgage, which is why our mortgage is so low. Because for this house and the 60 acres, our mortgage is less than $300,000, which is pretty unheard of. So, yeah. Anything else, babe?
I think that's it.
Okay. All right. Happy homesteading.